I wish I could forget the taste of the wine I was drinking that night. Merlot, 2007. Sharp, bitter, with a slow burn that matched the one in my chest as I watched my wife walk into our anniversary dinner, hand in hand with another man. Not a friend. Not a business associate. A tall, smug son of a bastard with tailored sleeves rolled just enough to show off his gym-forged arms in a Rolex I probably paid for indirectly. And the worst part? She wasn't ashamed. No. Madison looked right at me and smirked, like this was her moment. He's everything you could never be: power, passion, and presence, she said with venomous elegance, her voice slicing through the air like piano wire. Accept it or vanish. She didn't shout. She didn't cry. She delivered the betrayal with champagne on her breath and a diamond around her neck that I put there. I think the room went silent. I'm not sure. My ears rang. My world narrowed. I didn't respond. I just stood up, straightened my jacket, left the cash for the dinner neither of us would touch, and walked out. Out of that restaurant. Out of that life. Out of every damn thing I'd built for the two of us over 12 miserable years. I vanished. Literally. No goodbye. No divorce papers. No warning. I drained every account she didn't know about, sold the company I co-founded before our marriage, and slipped off the radar. I was done being Mr. Madison Taylor. I burned him down to ashes. For the next decade, I disappeared from the world without leaving a trace. No calls. No emails. No social media. Let them think I was dead. It was better than admitting I had been nothing to the woman I built my life around. But I didn't crawl into a cave. I transformed. I became someone new. New name. New empire. From a broken man with a shattered heart to a silent storm in a tailored suit. I made my millions, no, tens of millions, quietly. Legally. Ruthlessly. And then, when I was ready, I came back. Not to forgive. Not to beg. Not even to reclaim what was mine. I returned with a plan. Madison had no idea the man she humiliated in front of strangers would someday own the very hotel where she now hosted charity galas with her new husband. That man, Logan Pierce. I made sure their invites went through my assistant. I watched them clink glasses, smile for the cameras, and talk about success while they stood on the foundation of the man they thought was long gone. Me. Until the night I saw something that changed everything. I hadn't planned to confront her yet. That night, I was just watching from the penthouse level, a silent king overlooking his stolen kingdom. But then she walked into the service corridor near the kitchens alone. I followed, staying in the shadows like a ghost. That's when I saw it. She wasn't calling her husband. She was whispering into her phone, her voice frantic. No, not tonight. I told you, Logan can't know. Meet me after the speech. And for God's sake, don't wear that chain of the one I gave him. I don't want reminders. Him? She wasn't cheating on me anymore. She was cheating on the man she cheated with. And that was the moment I realized. Madison wasn't just a liar. She was a black hole in heels. Every man that got close to her disappeared, his dignity, his wallet, his soul, gone. But I wasn't a man anymore. I was a weapon. This wasn't about heartbreak now. This was war. And it all started that night, when the woman I once loved looked me in the eye and said, "He's everything you could never be." That's where she was wrong. Because now, I was everything. And she had no idea what was coming. I thought the worst was behind me. But the truth? That night, the dinner, the insult, the smirk, was just her opening act. The real betrayal came later. Piece by piece, like glass in my shoe, invisible until it bled. I spent weeks watching her from the shadows. Not like a stalker, more like a ghost with unfinished business. I had access to everything. Her schedule, her phone records, even her private messages. Money gets you doors. Silence lets you walk through them unnoticed. What I discovered wasn't just infidelity. It was architecture. Madison had been building this betrayal for years. I went back through old receipts, hidden emails, and even surveillance I had installed before I vanished, cameras she never found. It turned out the man she brought to that dinner, Logan Pierce, wasn't just a new fling. They'd been seeing each other for over 18 months before that night, during our vacations, our therapy sessions, while I was busy fighting for a promotion to support her boutique startup. Hell, I remember once, she told me she was taking a solo self-care retreat to Palm Springs. Even made me pack her bags. Guess who paid for the luxury suite Logan was already checked into? They made a mockery out of my loyalty. But what cut deeper was the pattern. Logan wasn't her first. There were others. One of them, Daniel Whitaker, was a client of mine. Another, a bartender from our country club. Even a delivery guy who sent her flowers addressed to him. I remembered asking her, "Who's M?" She said it was a nickname from her college days. Lie. Everything was a lie. And it wasn't just the cheating. It was the way she twisted the truth until I didn't know up from down. Every time I felt something was off, she gaslit me. "Oh please, Jason, not this again. Maybe you should talk to someone. Just because you're insecure doesn't mean I'm doing anything wrong." God, she made me question my own instincts. But the evidence was undeniable now. I had photos, screenshots, audio. One recording still plays in my head like a nightmare. Her voice, soft and mocking. "He thinks he's clever. But Jason's always been a little puppy in a man's body. Sweet, clueless, and easy to train." I should have been angry, but I wasn't. I was cold. Still. Like the moment before an avalanche. Because now I knew what I was dealing with, not a wife, but a manipulator with a taste for chaos. I remember watching one video of her and Logan in the backseat of a limo, 2 nights before she told me she wanted a break. She wasn't wearing her wedding ring. She never wore it around him. And when he kissed her neck, she giggled and whispered, "He's fading. Soon, I'll have everything. Everything. My home. My savings. My company." I had been set up. Systematically. She had timed my burnout, encouraged my sabbatical, and kept me distracted while she dug her claws into everything with my name on it. And I had no one to blame but myself for not seeing it sooner. But now I had the truth. And I wasn't going to run from it. I was going to weaponize it. She thought I disappeared because I was weak, because I couldn't handle the humiliation. But what she didn't know, couldn't possibly fathom, was that I had spent 10 years turning that humiliation into fuel. I had built a machine, and she was standing directly in its path that I didn't knock. The door to her office was open, the same one I had paid to renovate back when she was finding herself as an interior design consultant. It was still painted in that soft dove gray she loved, with the custom gold handles I picked out before I realized those handles would one day swing open to her betrayal. She looked up when I entered. She didn't recognize me at first. To be fair, I wasn't the man she knew. Gone was the tired, overworked, eager-to-please husband who used to beg for her attention. Now I wore a black suit like armor. My beard was trimmed, my posture straight. And my eyes, they didn't ask questions anymore. They demanded answers. "Jason." Her voice was barely more than a whisper. She blinked, then blinked again. "Surprised to see me?" I asked, closing the door behind me. I thought you were dead." I stepped closer. "Gone forever? That's what you wanted, right?" Madison stood up slowly, smoothing her blouse like it mattered. "Jason, look, I don't know what you think you saw, or heard, or—" "You brought your lover to our anniversary dinner," I said calmly. "That's not a misunderstanding, Madison. That's a statement." She hesitated, then did what she always did when cornered. She turned into the coldest version of herself. "You abandoned me," she snapped. "You disappeared without a word. You think you can just walk back in and out." No. I held up a hand. "You don't get to rewrite history. I walked away after you humiliated me in public. After you grabbed that bastard's hand like I was the waiter." Madison crossed her arms, but her voice cracked slightly. "Things weren't working between us. You were distant, obsessed with work. Logan, he made me feel alive again." "Right," I said, letting the bile rise just enough to flavor my words. "Because nothing says rebirth like screwing the guy I once mentored at a charity dinner." Her jaw twitched. She didn't deny it. "You think Logan was the first?" I continued. "I know about Daniel, the bartender. Even that delivery guy, Josh, was it?" Silence. Just for a beat. Then she gave me that same condescending smirk I remembered from the restaurant. "Congratulations," she said. "You finally grew a spine." "I also grew a bank account," I replied. "The hotel you held at Gala in last month?" "Mine." "The property management firm Logan's been negotiating with?" "Mine." "The publishing house that denied your proposal this week?" "Guess who owns 51%? Her smirk cracked. "I disappeared, Madison, not because I was weak. I vanished because I needed time to become something you can't manipulate. And now, I'm not here for revenge. I'm here to watch you." "To watch me?" "What?" "Fall," I said. With style. She tried to slap me. She really did. Her hand came flying up like we were on some soap opera, but I caught her wrist midair and held it, not with violence, but with finality. "That won't work anymore," I said softly. "You don't get to control the narrative." Then I leaned in, just enough so only she could hear me. "You thought you were playing chess. But sweetheart, you're just one of the pieces." I dropped her wrist and turned to leave. And as I opened the door, I saw it in her eyes, not fear, not regret, but something worse, panic. Because for the first time, Madison realized she had no idea what was coming next. The drive home, if I could call it that, was silent. I wasn't going back to a house filled with memories, shared laughter, or framed photos of fake smiles. No, I lived in a high-rise penthouse now. No personal touches. No warmth. Just cold steel, black marble, and the kind of view that made people think you'd made it. But success was sterile. And silence, brutal. I poured a drink, neat, and stood by the window, watching the city flicker below like it was mocking me. The confrontation had ended, but the war inside me had only just begun. At first, it was rage. Not the kind that explodes in fists and shouting, but the kind that simmers, deep, slow, patient. The kind that rewrites your heartbeat. How many nights had I laid awake wondering if I wasn't enough? If I worked too much, listened too little, loved too hard, or not hard enough? She made me feel like I was the problem. And God help me, I believed it. She was that good, gaslighting me with such delicate precision, I thought I was lucky to have her. Now I saw it all for what it was, a well-rehearsed act. Every "I love you" had an expiration date. Every kiss was a diversion. Every intimate moment was a transaction. That realization didn't break me. It unchained me. I started replaying it all, backward, like a film reel cutting in reverse. The way she'd pull away when I touched her in bed, claiming she was tired. How she'd spend more time with girls from Pilates than with me on weekends. The sudden interest in self-care weekends and business brunches that I never questioned. I was such a damn fool. But underneath the anger, another emotion clawed its way in. Grief. Not just for the marriage, but for the man I used to be. I missed him, that hopeful version of myself who believed in promises, who thought love could survive the storms. That man was gone now. He didn't survive the night she walked into our anniversary dinner holding another man's hand like I never existed. And then came the sadness. Not for myself, but for the years wasted. The chances I passed up, the places I didn't go, the friends I pushed away to prioritize her. She didn't just cheat on me with another man. She cheated me out of my own life. That night, as I sat in that dark room, the drink untouched, I finally cried. Not loudly. Just a single tear. But it was the first honest emotion I'd let surface in a decade. And after it fell, something in me shifted. Acceptance. The worst had already happened. The betrayal. The humiliation. The years lost. I had nothing left to fear. From this point on, every step I took would be mine alone. I wouldn't let her infect another corner of my mind. I wouldn't let Logan, or whichever poor soul she cheated with next, occupy a second of my thoughts. They were parasites. And I was done being the host. But I also knew this. I wasn't going to just move on quietly. No, I'd built an empire. I had power. And now, I had purpose. Because while pain fades, lessons burn permanent. And I had one final lesson to deliver, not just for Madison, but for any man out there questioning his worth because of a woman who plays him like a puppet. You don't recover by begging. You recover by rising. The next morning, I stood in front of the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. Not because of the tailored shirt or the watch worth more than my first car, but because of the calm behind my eyes. There was no rage, no panic, just decision. I had already won in silence. But now, I needed to decide what kind of victory I wanted, one that made headlines or one that left scars. Destroying Madison publicly would have been easy. A few leaked photos. A recording here and there. The media would tear her apart. She was, after all, a socialite now. Logan's wife. The face of their perfect little empire. But I didn't want a scandal. I wanted closure. And that meant going back to where it all began. The house. Not the penthouse I lived in now, the house we once shared. The one she insisted on keeping during the separation. The one filled with my books, my art, and probably still the coffee mug that said, "Best Husband," which she gave me right before sleeping with Logan for the first time. I pulled up to the driveway mid-afternoon, knowing she'd be out. Her calendar was still synced to the old smart system, a small oversight in a web of arrogance. Stepping inside, it was like walking into a museum of lies. Nothing had changed. Same floral curtains. Same scent of vanilla candles. Same framed photos of us smiling through dead eyes. I didn't come to steal. I came to erase. One by one, I packed up everything that was mine. My father's watch from the top drawer. My old journals from the attic. Even the dusty guitar she once said was cluttering the corner, the same guitar I wrote a song for her on during our engagement. I left the rest. The memories. The pain. the ghost of the man she destroyed. Before I left, I did one last thing. I sat at the kitchen table, the same place she once cried when I got her the wrong smoothie, and wrote a letter. Not for her. For Logan. Logan, you never stole my wife. She was never yours to steal. You got her body. I got the truth. You think you've won. You haven't. You'll learn, just like I did, that nothing she touches stays whole for long. Her affection is conditional. Her loyalty? A joke. And when it happens, when you catch her whispering to someone else, saying he makes her feel alive again, remember this letter. Because by then, it'll be too late. Jason. I left the note in Logan's office drawer, tucked between contracts I knew he never read. Then I walked out and never looked back. Driving away, I realized something strange. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't broken. I was free. The decision was made. No revenge. No messy court battles. I didn't need her money or her apology. She wanted me gone. So I gave her what she asked for. But now, I was back, not to grovel, not to fight, but to live. And as for Madison, she could keep the lies. I'd take the peace. Peace is a funny thing. You think it comes with silence, distance, maybe even forgiveness. But for me, peace came the moment I saw Logan's expression at the charity banquet 2 weeks later. He stood near the open bar, sipping something brown, with a tension in his shoulders he couldn't disguise, not even with his expensive tux and forced smile. Madison was beside him, of course, draped in red, loud and smug, like she always was when cameras were nearby. But her eyes were scanning the room, searching, nervous. Good. I didn't need to be seen to make noise. I'd made a quiet move, one that would hit harder than public humiliation ever could. A private audit. A minor whisper to one of Logan's investors. A suggestion to dig into discrepancies in their shared charity accounts, the same ones Madison used to launder her personal vacations as research trips. Nothing illegal. Yet. But enough to get board members whispering. Enough to make Logan sweat. I stood in the shadows, behind the velvet curtain near the back entrance, watching them unravel. That's when she spotted me. Her eyes locked with mine like she'd seen a ghost. I didn't smile. Didn't blink. Just raised my glass, a silent toast to everything she threw away. She excused herself from Logan, crossed the room like a hurricane in heels, and slipped through the curtain, slamming into me in the hallway. "What are you doing here?" she hissed. "Enjoying the view," I said. "Your kingdom's starting to wobble." She scoffed. "Still obsessed? I see. What? Couldn't stay away from the woman who broke you?" "I'm not here for you," I replied. "I'm here to watch gravity do its job." Her expression faltered. "Logan's in trouble," I continued. "And he doesn't even know where the leak is coming from yet. But don't worry. I'll give him time. Maybe he'll figure it out before the board votes." "You wouldn't dare." I leaned in close. "You have no idea what I dare anymore." She laughed. It was forced and brittle. "You're pathetic. Still crawling around in the dark, thinking you're some kind of avenger. You left, Jason. You quit. And now you want back in like some tragic ex-husband with a grudge?" "No," I said, voice calm, almost gentle. "I just want you to experience what it feels like when someone strips away everything you built. Not to punish you, just to balance the scales." She blinked, and for a flicker of a second, I saw it fear. Not because I was dangerous, but because I no longer cared about winning her back. That made me unpredictable. I turned to walk away, but her voice followed me like poison. "You're still that same lonely little man, Jason. Just hiding behind money and suits now." I stopped, looked back. "Maybe," I said, "but lonely beats being with a parasite who feeds on attention and lies." Then I left. That night, as the banquet died down and the reporters packed up, I sat on a rooftop nearby, sipping bourbon under the stars. Alone, but not broken. I had returned. Not for vengeance. Not even for justice. I came back to reclaim myself. And I was getting stronger every day that I wasn't looking for her that day. I was at the pier. Sunday morning, sun barely up, ocean still asleep. It was one of the few places left untouched by the madness of my old life, a place where I used to go to clear my head when everything felt like static. And then I heard her voice. Not Madison's, but Elise's. My sister. The only one who stayed when I disappeared. She hadn't known where I went, but she kept the messages coming. Voicemails. Letters. Birthdays missed, but not forgotten. She was sitting on the bench by the rail, throwing breadcrumbs at birds like we used to do as kids. I almost walked past her. But something in me shifted. I hadn't talked to her in 10 years. Not because I didn't want to, but because I couldn't face the shame, the embarrassment, the failure. But Elise? She stood up and hugged me before I even said her name. Held on like I hadn't been gone for a decade. Still feeding pigeons? I murmured into her hair. Still feeding hope, she whispered back. We sat, silence growing soft between us. Then, without judgment, she asked, "So, why now?" I told her everything. Not the business side, not the empire I'd built, or the silent war I was waging. That didn't matter here. I told her about Madison, the affair, the betrayal, the dinner. When I got to the part where Madison brought Logan to our anniversary, Elise didn't even blink. I always knew something was off with her, she said. She looked at you like you were furniture. Expensive, useful, but never essential. That hit harder than I expected. She didn't destroy you, Jason, she continued. She just exposed the parts of you that weren't meant to survive. I sat with that for a moment. She taught me to question everything I said. Every laugh, every kiss, every word. I keep thinking back, wondering when the switch flipped. Elise looked out at the sea. You don't need the exact moment, just the truth. And you already have it. Later that day, I drove past the church where Madison and I had gotten married. It was a quiet street now. The rose bushes by the entrance were gone, and the stained glass windows were dull with dust. I remembered standing there in my suit, heart pounding, hands sweating, believing I was about to start a forever, not realizing I was about to sign away a piece of my soul. I parked, walked up to the doors, and sat on the same steps where we had taken photos. And I let the memories come, not to haunt me, but to release them, one by one. Our honeymoon in Cabo, where she spent more time posting pictures than looking at me. The night she said, "I'm proud of you," but didn't know what project I was even working on. The birthday when she forgot until noon and blamed it on stress. They weren't just red flags. They were neon signs. And I had driven right through them. I stayed until sunset. By the time I stood up, I wasn't carrying the past anymore. It was behind me now, like an echo fading into silence. All that remained was one final chapter. And it was time to write the ending on my terms. The invitation arrived on a Tuesday. A crisp white envelope with gold trim and calligraphy that screamed fake elegance, Madison's signature aesthetic. It was for a gala, of course. Some event for women in power, hosted by her and Logan, sponsored by a brand she probably bullied into participation. What made it interesting wasn't the event itself. It was the guest list. My name was on it. Jason Cole. No alias. No initials. Full name, front and center, as if she was daring me to show up, or warning me not to. I smiled as I placed it on the mahogany desk in my office, next to the final folder. The folder. Inside were documents, timelines, photographs, financial reports, receipts, a detailed map of Madison's manipulation, deception, and layered betrayals. But not just against me. Against Logan. Against business partners. Against charity boards. Turns out, her hunger for control had bled into every inch of her life. She forged signatures, redirected donations, even funneled money through ghost vendors, all under the guise of expanding her brand. It was enough to ruin her 10 times over. But I wasn't going to publish it. Not yet. No, I had one last thing to do. I walked into the gala unannounced, dressed in black, calm as a shadow. No security check. The guards recognized me. Money has that effect. I nodded, passed them by, and slipped into the ballroom just as the lights dimmed for the opening speech. There she was, Madison Pierce, hair curled like a crown, dress painted onto her skin, smile sharp enough to draw blood, and Logan beside her, looking every bit the polished puppet. As she stepped up to the microphone, I stood quietly at the back, watching. No intention to stop her. I wanted her to speak. I wanted to see how many lies she could stack before the whole thing came crashing down. But as she spoke about integrity and building a future for women, a wave of detachment washed over me. She was irrelevant now. Her voice didn't cut anymore. Her power was paper thin. I waited until the speech ended, until the room scattered into clinking glasses and murmured praise. Then, as Madison stepped off the stage, she caught sight of me. Her face froze. I gave her a polite nod and handed her an envelope. Inside was the folder. Everything. She didn't even open it. Not there. She just stared at me like she'd seen her own reflection crack. "I'm not here to ruin you," I said. "I'm here to show you what you are." Her lips parted. No sound. I leaned in. "You always said I was weak. That I vanished because I couldn't handle you. The truth is, I vanished so I wouldn't become you." She laughed nervously. "And now what? You're the moral compass." "No," I said. "I'm the mirror. You're welcome to look. Or not." Then I turned and left. No drama. No speech. No fire. I didn't need to destroy her. She'd already done that on her own. All I did was give her the chance to watch herself fall. Back in my apartment that night, I opened the window and breathed in the city, not as a man escaping a nightmare, but as a man finally awake. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the survivor. And if I could speak to any man who's standing in the middle of his storm, wondering if he'll make it through, here's my advice. Disappear if you must. But when you come back untouchable.
The night I found the receipt for a $500 necklace I'd never given my wife, I didn't scream. I didn't smash anything. I just stood in our dimly lit kitchen, the paper trembling in my hand, while Emily hummed Taylor Swift in the shower like the world wasn't collapsing. Her phone buzzed on the counter. Derek, 8:43 p.m. Can't wait to see you in it tomorrow. My place? The screen lit up the room like a grenade. My stomach dropped. Derek. Her gym trainer. The guy she swore was just a friend when I joked about his sleeveless shirts and protein shake sermons. I grabbed her phone, my thumb hovering over the password field. Our anniversary. 0621, the lock screen dissolved, and there it was, a gallery of deleted texts resurrected in her recently closed tabs. Plans. Dates. A photo of her wearing nothing but that damn necklace. The shower stopped. I shoved the phone back, the receipt crumpled in my fist, and leaned against the fridge. Emily emerged, towel wrapped tight, her blonde hair dripping. She froze when she saw my face. What's wrong, Jake? Her voice was syrup, but her eyes darted to the counter. I held up the receipt. Who's Derek buying jewelry for? She laughed, a sharp, brittle sound. Jealousy's not a good look on you. She snatched the paper, her smirk icy. It's a gift for his sister. God, relax. His sister. My voice was flat. Then why's he texting you about seeing you in it tomorrow? At his place? The color drained from her face. For a second, I thought she'd crumble. Beg. Instead, she rolled her eyes. Fine. You caught me. We've been close. But it's your fault. You've been checked out for months. Checked out? I stepped closer, my jaw tight. I've worked 60-hour weeks to pay for this house. For your Pilates classes. Oh, spare me the martyr act. She tossed her towel on the floor, deliberate, like she wanted me to look. To remember what I'd lost. You think money fixes boring? Derek's alive. You're just here. The words hung, venomous. I lunged for her phone, pulling up the photo. You call this alive? She didn't flinch. At least he notices me. Something in me snapped. I hurled the phone against the wall. It shattered, glass skittering across the tiles. Emily just crossed her arms. Real mature, Jake. Now buy me a new one. I left. Not a slam, not a shout. Just silence as I drove to the empty office, replaying her smirk in the rearview. 3 days later. The private investigators folder hit my desk at noon. Photos of Emily and Derek exiting a motel. Time-stamped receipts for weekday gym sessions. And a kicker, Derek's rap sheet. Aggravated assault. Drug charges. I smiled for the first time in weeks. That night, I planted the file in her yoga bag. Let her find it. Let her sweat. At 2 a.m., she stormed into the garage, waving the papers. What the hell is this? I looked up from my toolbox. Insurance. You're following me now? No, I stood, wiping grease off my hands. I'm exposing you. Derek's got a record. Violent. What do you think his parole officer'll say when they find out he's screwing a married woman? Her slap cracked across my cheek. You're pathetic. I grabbed her wrist, hard. And you're trapped. Divorce me, and I leak this. You'll lose everything. Stay, and I'll ruin him. She wrenched free, eyes blazing. You're bluffing. I tossed her car keys on the workbench. Try me. She left. Didn't come home that night. But I didn't sleep either. I drafted an email to Derek's parole officer. Attached, photos. Dates. Proof. Send. Next morning. Derek's gym was closed. Cops swarmed the parking lot. Emily called me screaming. What did you do? I sipped my coffee. Made him accountable. She hung up. By dusk, her lawyer called. She wants a divorce. I grinned. Game on. Emily didn't come home for 3 days. Not that I cared. The house felt lighter without her perfume choking the air. But on the 4th morning, her black Lexus SUV sat in the driveway, passenger door slightly ajar. Like she'd left in a hurry. I didn't hesitate. The glove box smelled like her vanilla lip balm and regret. Beneath a stack of unpaid parking tickets, I found it, a prepaid burner phone, still warm. No password. Just a string of texts to a number labeled D. Emily, 2:15 a.m. He knows. We need to end this. D, 2:17 a.m. End this? You're joking. You owe me. Emily, 2:19 a.m. I'll give you cash. Just disappear. D, 2:23 a.m. $50,000 or I tell your hubby about the Vegas weekend. And the video. Video. My thumb froze. Vegas was 6 months ago, her girls' trip. She'd come home with a sunburn and a hickey she blamed on a jet ski. I'd almost believed her. The burner vibrated. D, 8:02 a.m. Meet me at the old quarry. Noon. Come alone or the video goes viral. I pocketed the phone, my pulse steady. Perfect. 11:47 a.m. The quarry was a graveyard of rusted machinery and cracked asphalt. I parked my truck behind a skeletal excavator, binoculars in hand. Emily's Lexus rolled in at 11:58, kicking up dust. Derek's motorcycle followed, its growl cutting through the silence. She stepped out, sunglasses hiding her eyes, but her hands shook as she lit a cigarette. Derek swaggered toward her, all leather and entitlement. Where's my money, princess? I don't have it, she snapped. Jake's freezing the accounts. He grabbed her arm. Then you'll get creative. Or should I send him the clip of you snorting coke off that stripper? Coke? Strippers? I almost laughed. Emily had always mocked my boring whiskey nights. She yanked free. I'll get it, okay? Just give me time. Time's up. He pulled a flash drive from his pocket. This goes live in an hour. Unless, his grin turned feral. You wanna work it off? She slapped him. Hard. Derek lunged, but Emily was faster. She reached into her purse, and pulled my Glock 19. The gunshot echoed off the quarry walls. Derek collapsed, clutching his thigh. You crazy bee *TCH. Emily aimed again, voice steady. Give me the drive. Or what? You'll finish me? He laughed, blood seeping through his fingers. You don't have the guts. Bang. This time, the bullet tore through his shoulder. He screamed. The drive, she repeated. He tossed it. She caught it midair, then kicked his motorcycle onto its side, gas spilling everywhere. Wait. Derek scrambled backward. She lit her cigarette, flicked the match. The explosion singed my eyebrows from 200 yards away. 2 p.m. I met her at the edge of the woods, her hands still smelling of gunpowder. She didn't flinch when I stepped into view. "You followed me," she said flatly. "Had to see the show." I nodded at the smoke rising behind her. "Cleanup's gonna be a bitch." She tossed me the flash drive. "It's empty. I wiped it weeks ago." Derek was bluffing. "But you didn't know that." I pocketed the drive. "So why kill him?" Her laugh was hollow. "You think this was about you? He was going to bleed me dry. And I don't share anything." The coldness in her voice almost impressed me. "Almost." "Cops'll trace the gun to you," I said. She smirked. "It's registered to you, Jake. And guess who has a motive?" My stomach dropped. She'd planned this. "Let me find the burner." Lured me here. Sirens wailed in the distance. Emily stepped closer, her breath hot on my neck. "You should run. They'll blame you for the texts too. All those threats from your number." I grabbed her wrist. "You switched the burner's SIM card. Took you long enough." She wrenched free, backing toward her car. "Don't worry, I'll visit you in prison. Bring flowers." The sirens screamed louder. I lunged, but she was already speeding off, gravel spraying my shins. 3:30 p.m. They arrested me at a gas station 20 miles south. Handcuffs, Miranda rights, the whole show. I stayed silent, replaying her smirk. Then, halfway to the station, the cop's radio crackled. "All units, additional 911 call from quarry vicinity. Female victim down. Possible gunshot." The cop glanced at me. "That your wife?" I smiled. "Not anymore." The cop car reeked of stale coffee and bad decisions. I stared at my cuffed hands, the metal biting into my wrists, and replayed Emily's smirk. Female victim down. Had she staged her own injury? Or had Derek somehow survived the inferno and turned on her? The not knowing itched like a bullet wound. The station was a blur of fluorescent lights and bored detectives. They tossed me into an interrogation room, its walls stained with the ghosts of liars. I kept my mouth shut, counting the cracks in the ceiling. Then the door slammed open. A detective with a salt and pepper buzz cut slapped a file on the table. "Your wife's in surgery. Got shot. She named you as the shooter before passing out." I leaned back. "And you believe her?" He flipped open the file, crime scene photos of Emily sprawled by her Lexus, blood pooling beneath her. My Glock lay nearby, fingerprints wiped clean. "Ballistics matches your registered firearm. Her burner phones got texts from your number threatening Derek. Neat little package." "Too neat," I said. "Check the quarry security cams. Scorched. Just like Derek's body." He leaned in. "But here's the kicker, Emily's blood was found inside Derek's melted wallet. Care to explain?" I almost smiled. "Finally. Open your evidence bag. Look at the serial number on the Glock." He frowned but complied, reading it aloud. "Now check your file," I said. "My registered Glock serial ends in 7792. That one ends in 7793. The room went still. "Bought 2 identical guns last year," I said. "Emily stole one from my safe. Yours is the decoy." The detective's phone rang. He stormed out, cursing. 2 hours later, they cut the cuffs. 7 p.m. The hospital hallway buzzed with cops and whispers. Emily's room was guarded, but her lawyer, a shark in a pantsuit, let me in. 5 minutes, she hissed. Emily lay pale, tubes snaking from her arms. Her eyes fluttered open, rage burning through the morphine. "You framed me." I sat, pulling a voice recorder from my pocket. You shouldn't have used my anniversary as your burner's password. Her breath hitched. I hit play. Emily, 2:15 a.m. He knows. We need to end this. Derek, 2:17 a.m. End this? You're joking. You owe me. Her face twisted. That's inadmissible. You stole. I found it. In your car. Which you reported stolen last week. I leaned closer. Funny thing, Derek's parole officer just shared security footage from his apartment building. Shows you carrying a duffel bag in and out every Thursday. Same day's cash went missing from our safe. She stiffened. You're bluffing. I tossed a photo on her bed, Derek's charred corpse, a silver key clutched in his hand. Recognize this? Safety deposit box 214 at First National. The one you rented under a fake ID. Her machine beeped faster. Cops already cracked it open, I lied smoothly. $50K in cash. A flash drive. And a love letter you wrote him, signed with lipstick. No. They'll match the prints. The ink. The lies. I stood. You're not a victim, Em. You're a receipt. She lunged, tearing her out. I'll kill you. The lawyer rushed in, but I was already at the door. Save it for the trial. Midnight. The cops found the real Glock buried in Emily's Pilates mat. My lawyer, a pit bull named Rosa, made sure the press got every detail: the stolen gun, the burner phone, the safety deposit box Emily's key unlocked. By dawn, the headlines burned. Lovers double-cross ends in murder-suicide plot. Cheating wife shot by own stash money. But the best part? Derek's corpse in the quarry? A meth head drifter he'd paid to wear his leather jacket. The real Derek had been hiding in a motel, waiting to blackmail Emily again, until Rosa leaked his location to his drug cartel creditors. They found him in a dumpster, missing 3 fingers. 3 days later. Emily's arraignment was a circus. She wore a smirk and a $2,000 blazer, still playing the wronged wife. When the judge denied bail, she spat at me, "You'll rot for this." Rosa handed me a coffee. "She'll get 20 years minimum." I watched Emily thrash as they led her away. "Make it 25. The first prison visit wasn't mine. 3 weeks after Emily's sentencing, a guard found her cellmate dead, face blue, throat swollen like rotten fruit. The coroner called it an allergic reaction. I called it a warning. Rosa slid the toxicology report across my kitchen table. Cyanide. In a whiskey flask her lawyer accidentally left during a visit. I stared at the photo of the flask, sleek, silver, engraved with D's initials. Derek's? Stolen from his corpse. Or what's left of it. She paused. Emily's got a new admirer. A guard named Torres. He's been smuggling her gifts. I poured 2 fingers of bourbon, the ice cracking like bones. She's recruiting. Worse. Rosa's voice dropped. Torres transferred to the men's block yesterday. Where your brother's serving his embezzlement stint. The glass froze at my lips. Mark. My baby brother, 3 years into a 10-year stretch. Emily's parting shot. 10 p.m. The prison visitation room smelled like bleach and desperation. Mark sat across from me, his orange jumpsuit hanging loose, a fresh bruise blooming on his jaw. "You shouldn't have come," he muttered. "Torres hassling you?" He flinched. "Just leave it, Jake." I slid a photo of Emily's flask toward him. "She's using him to get to you." "Why?" Mark's eyes darted to the guards. "She thinks I know where the Vegas video is. The real one." The room tilted. "What real one?" He laughed, bitter. You think her little burner phone confession was all of it? She filmed you, man. That night at the Hilton, when he trailed off, guilt sharp. My stomach turned. Vegas, the conference I'd lied about. The stripper. The lines of coke. The mistake Emily had orchestrated. She blackmailed you into screwing up my books, I said slowly. Got you jailed to keep you quiet. Mark nodded. The video's in a locker at Union Station. Keys taped under Torres' desk. But if Emily finds out I told you. The guard's baton slammed between us. Time's up. Mark mouthed sorry as they dragged him away. 2 a.m. Torres' desk was unmanned, the night shift dozing over crossword puzzles. The key slid loose too easily, a trap. But the locker was real. Inside, a flash drive and a note in Emily's looping cursive. Jake, miss me yet? The drive held 2 files. 1. Mark's embezzlement evidence, fabricated, .pdf. 2. Hilton_night.mp4. I clicked play. There I was, 18 months ago, snorting coke off a dancer's thigh while Emily's hidden cam glinted in the champagne bucket. The timestamp, 3 days before Derek's first text. She'd planned this for years. My burner rang. Blocked number. Enjoying the film? Emily's voice slithered through the speaker. Mark's got a copy too. Wonder what happens if it leaks. I gripped the phone. You touch him, I bury you. Too late. Torres moves him to Gen Pop tomorrow. Lots of Derek's old cartel buddies there. She paused. But maybe I call them off, if you apologize. The line went dead. 6 a.m. Rosa met me at the station locker, her heels clicking like a countdown. The video's inadmissible. Illegal recording. Doesn't matter. I crushed the flash drive under my boot. She'll have backups. This was a flex. Then we flex harder. Rosa handed me a dossier. Torres' wife works at a daycare. His mistress works at a nail salon. Let's see how loyal he is when his secrets hit the warden's desk. I smiled. You're scary. You're paying me to be. Noon. Torres met me in a parking garage, his uniform reeking of sweat and fear. I'll move your brother to protective custody. Just keep my family out of it. I tossed him the key to Emily's locker. Tell her the video's gone. That I'm broken. He pocketed it. She'll want proof. I pulled out my phone, played a clip of me sobbing over the flask. Recorded in my car, ketchup packets staged as tears. Torres bought it. You're as twisted as she is. Worse, I said. I don't have a soul to lose. 8 p.m. Emily called again, triumphant. Beg, Jake. Properly. I let the silence hang, then whispered, please. She exhaled, hungry. Again. Please, Emily. Don't hurt Mark. Too late. A muffled scream echoed behind her, Mark's voice. But keep begging. I'll call you when he stops. The line died. I lit a cigarette, watching the prison's floodlights flicker. Right on time. The prison surveillance room reeked of burnt coffee and stale panic. I stared at the grainy monitor, Torres' finger hovering over the playback button. You sure you want to see this? Play it. The footage showed Emily's visitation booth, Mark slumped in a chair, his face swollen. Emily sat across from him, her orange jumpsuit crisp, smile venomous. Emily, you look like hell, Mark. Prison food not agreeing with you? Mark, go to hell. Emily, leaning forward, Jake didn't tell you, did he? About the second video. The one where he begged me to ruin you. Mark lunged, but guards yanked him back. Emily laughed, cold and clean, as they dragged him out. Torres paused the tape. That's when they moved him to solitary. I pointed to the timestamp. Rewind. Zoom on her left hand. He did. Emily's fingers drummed the table, Morse code. Dash. Straight face. Straight face, dash. LOCKR1. Union Station. The same locker that held the Vegas video. She's baiting you, Torres said. She's bored. I tossed him a burner phone. Call her lawyer. Schedule a visit. Next day, 9 a.m. Emily sat behind bulletproof glass, her smirk sharp enough to slice concrete. I picked up the receiver. Miss me? Like a toothache. She leaned closer. Hear Mark screaming? Or did you mute that too? I slid a photo of locker 1 across the counter. You left a present for me. Again. Open it, she purred. Already did. Found Derek's old flip phone. Loaded with voicemails. You begging him to stop the blackmail. To love you. Her smile faltered. Funny thing, Derek's mom suing you for wrongful death. Those voicemails? Proof you manipulated him. Her lawyer's thirsty. Emily's nail stabbed the glass. You're lying. I pressed a button on my phone. Emily's voice, crackling, Derek, please. I'll leave Jake, I'll give you the money, just don't. Her fist slammed the divider. Turn it off. Guards surged forward, but I waved them back. The lawsuit'll add years to your sentence. But I'll kill the tape, if you sign this. I slid divorce papers through the slot. She shredded them, paper snowing to the floor. I'll own you, Jake. From in here. You'll never breathe free. I stood. You're right. I won't. Her eyes narrowed. What? I pulled a vial from my pocket, a drop of Mark's blood, smuggled from his last infirmary visit. Got a buddy at the lab. DNA matches the cyanide in your flask. Proves you poisoned your cellmate. She froze. Guards. I barked. Check her teeth. They tackled her, prying her jaw open. A cyanide capsule tumbled out, standard cartel suicide insurance. The warden stormed in. Where'd she get this? I nodded at Torres. Ask him. Torres paled. I didn't. You did. I tossed him a photo of his mistress's BMW, license plate clear. And now the cartel knows too. Emily thrashed, spitting curses, as they hauled her to the hole. Midnight. Rosa met me at the parking lot, a flash drive in hand. Union Station locker had one more surprise. The video loaded. Not Vegas. Emily, in our kitchen, tampering with my bourbon, a slow drip of arsenic. She's been poisoning you for months, Rosa said. I laughed, raw and ragged. Knew the whiskey tasted funny. We'll add attempted murder. She'll die in prison. I stared at the screen, Emily's face glowing with malice. No. Let her rot. Let her hope. 3 a.m. The call came as I poured a drink. Warden, Emily's demanding a deal. Says she'll expose Derek's cartel ties. Tell her I said no. Warden, she insists you'll change your mind. Says. Check the garage. The line died. I sprinted outside, wrenching open the garage. My toolbox sat open. Inside, a severed finger, Derek's, wearing my wedding ring. A note dripped with red ink. Game's not over. The severed finger sat on my kitchen counter, Derek's ring glinting under the fluorescent light. Emily's message was clear, she still had teeth. But so did I. I called Rosa. I need a meet with Derek's cartel contact. Tonight. She didn't ask questions. 10 p.m. Abandoned meatpacking plant. The cartel's enforcer, a wiry man named Cruz, leaned against a blood-stained wall, chewing gum like it owed him money. You got 5 minutes. I tossed him the finger. Emily's sending you gifts. He stiffened. That's Derek's. And she's got more, I lied. His head. His organs. Keeps them in a prison freezer. Says it's art. Cruz's jaw twitched. The cartel didn't forgive disrespect, even to dead traitors. I slid a prison blueprint across the table. She's in cell block D, guards rotate at midnight. Plenty of time to reclaim what's yours. He pocketed the blueprint. Why help us? She poisoned my brother. I stood, leaving a burner phone on the table. Call when it's done. Next morning, 6 a.m. The news broke fast. Riot at women's prison, gang-related attack leaves 1 dead, 5 injured. Emily's mugshot flashed next to the headline. Inmate Emily Carter, 34, found dead in laundry room. Authorities suspect targeted assault. Rosa called, voice tight. You set this up. She set herself up. I stared at the garage toolbox, now empty. The finger was a bluff. She never had Derek's body, just that one piece. The cartel took the bait. And Mark? Transferred to a minimum security facility this morning. Paperwork's clean. She exhaled. You're a monster, Jake. I'm what she made me. 3 days later, Emily's funeral. It rained. Hard. The kind of downpour that felt like the sky was scrubbing the earth clean. Only 3 people stood at her grave, me, Rosa, and a hunched figure in a black hoodie. The figure approached as the casket lowered. Torres. His face was gaunt, one eye swollen shut. They kicked me out, he muttered. Cartel thinks I helped you. You did. I handed him an envelope. One-way ticket to Belize. New name. Don't come back. He snatched it, disappearing into the rain. Rosa raised an eyebrow. Why save him? He's not worth the bullet. The grave driver shoveled dirt onto Emily's casket. I tossed in Derek's ring. Rest in hell, sweetheart. That night, my empty house. The whiskey tasted right again. No arsenic. No aftertaste. Just smoke and regret. Her ghost haunted every room, the couch where she'd lied about Derek, the garage where she'd plotted, the bed where she'd faked love. I torched it all. The fire department arrived too late. Let the flames have her. 1 month later, somewhere in Mexico. Mark sipped a margarita, his orange jumpsuit replaced by a Hawaiian shirt. You didn't have to bribe the warden. Yes, I did. I adjusted my sunglasses, watching the sunset. Your family. He hesitated. What about the Vegas video? Emily said there were copies. I grinned. You think Rosa and I spent weeks tracking her burners for fun? They're ash. Along with everything else. He laughed, real and loose, for the first time in years. Epilogue, 6 months later. The postcard arrived on a Tuesday. No return address, just 3 words scrawled in red ink. I'm still here. I burned it. Ghosts can't haunt you if you don't believe in them. Final lesson. Betrayal doesn't make you weak. It tells you who to cut loose. Emily thought she'd buried me, but graves are just dirt. I crawled out. If you're reading this, sweating over your partner's late nights or strange texts, don't cry. Don't beg. Burn the receipts. Salt the earth. And walk away without a sound. The end.
I opened the front door and immediately noticed the silence. Not the peaceful kind of silence. No, the wrong kind. The kind of silence that prickles your skin before your brain catches up. The kind that makes your instincts whisper, something's off. I wasn't supposed to be home this early. My shift at the auto shop ended early because my boss, Frank, decided to shut the place down for fumigation. I didn't call my wife, Samantha, because I wanted to surprise her. Maybe bring some lunch, kiss her neck, and remind myself why we were still married after 6 years of fights, makeups, and everything in between. I kicked off my boots quietly, walked through the hallway, and past the living room. Her purse was on the floor. Her blouse draped over the arm of the couch. My heart started tapping, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe she was changing. Maybe she was napping. Then I heard it. A faint, rhythmic sound. Muffled giggles. Our bedroom door was shut, and that door never closed unless we had privacy. I didn't rush. I didn't scream. I pulled my phone out, hit the video record, and slowly pushed the door open. What I saw hit me like a hammer to the chest. My wife, Samantha, naked, in our bed, and on top of her was my brother, Kyle. Kyle, the golden boy. Kyle, the best man at our wedding. Kyle, who held my newborn daughter while I filmed it all with shaking hands. Kyle, who gave me advice about loyalty. That Kyle. He didn't look shocked. He smirked. A slow, cocky smirk that made me want to rip the bed apart with my bare hands. Samantha didn't even flinch. She looked annoyed, like I had interrupted her massage appointment or something. Kyle said, "What's up, bro?" Like it was a joke. Like this was a joke. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't throw punches. Instead, I raised my phone. "I just sent your wife a video of you two." The smirk vanished. Instantly, Kyle's face went pale, then red, then wild. He scrambled off the bed, shouting, "You what? You're F*** ing lying." Nope. I locked eyes with him. Sent. 2 minutes ago. Samantha finally spoke. "Are you serious, Ryan? You're filming us? That's so psycho." She looked disgusted at me. Not at the fact that she was rolling around with my own brother, but because I filmed it. "I told you we were drifting," she hissed, grabbing a rope. "You don't touch me. You don't even see me anymore. Maybe if you acted like a man, I wouldn't need your brother." Kyle was pacing, grabbing his jeans, mumbling something about his wife, Jenna, and how this was all going to ruin him. "You think this is about you?" I snapped, stepping forward. "You think I give a damn about what happens to you, Kyle? You just nuked our family. You think mom's going to be proud?" He froze. Samantha, ever the manipulative snake, crossed her arms and said, "You're being dramatic. We've been unhappy for a while. You just never had the balls to admit it." "Unhappy?" I laughed bitterly. "So your solution was to screw my brother in our bed? While our daughter's at school?" I saw the twitch in Kyle's jaw. "Good. Let it burn. Let it sink in. Jenna's gonna see it," I said. "I sent it. Read receipts." "Already opened." He lunged. I was ready. One step back, phone still recording, and he stopped himself, breathing hard like a rabid animal. Samantha sat on the edge of the bed, unapologetic. Like she was bored. That's when I realized she didn't care. This wasn't a mistake. This was a message. She wanted me to see this, maybe even hoped it'd break me enough to walk away quietly. But I wasn't breaking. I turned to Kyle. "Tell your wife to pack. You'll need a place to crash." He didn't respond, just stared at the floor. Samantha rolled her eyes. "I'll call a lawyer. This marriage was dead a long time ago." "No," I said. "You just killed it." And I walked out of the room. But not out of the house. Not yet. Not before I made sure every piece of the truth came crashing down around them. I had more than just one video. I had a trail of messages, receipts, and screenshots, weeks worth. And when I was done, there wouldn't be a single person in either of our families who didn't know what she'd done. And the best part? I hadn't even told her what I sent to her boss yet. I sat in the kitchen, hands shaking, phone buzzing nonstop. Messages from Jenna kept flooding in. "Is this real? Please tell me it's not Kyle. I don't understand." She sent a voice message. I didn't even need to press play. I could already hear the sound of a marriage shattering. I let it play anyway. Her sobs filled the room like a ghost wailing through my walls. I closed my eyes and let them pierce through the numbness. Kyle and Samantha were still upstairs, whispering like cowards, probably trying to decide how to spin it all, how to salvage whatever was left of their reputations. As if there was anything worth salvaging. Samantha finally came downstairs, wrapped in a silk robe like nothing happened. She had her phone in one hand and a smirk on her face that I wanted to rip off. She poured herself coffee. "Are you proud of yourself?" she asked, leaning against the counter like some spoiled villain from a soap opera. "I mean, congrats. You just ruined 2 marriages. But sure, go ahead, play the victim." I didn't even look at her. "You cheated on your husband with his brother. In his bed. While his kid's backpack is still on the damn couch. You really want to talk about victims?" "Oh, please," she snapped. "You were never really here. You were always working, always distracted. You didn't even notice when I got my hair done last month." "That's your justification?" I asked, finally turning to her. "A haircut." She sipped her coffee. Calm. Calculated. Cold. "I needed to feel alive again," she said. "Kyle made me feel wanted. You? You just existed." My fist clenched so hard my nails dug into my palm. "So you climb into bed with my own brother?" "He came to me," she said, as if that made a damn difference. "It started after Thanksgiving. That night you passed out drunk in the living room. I remembered that night. I worked a double shift, came home exhausted, and passed out watching a movie with my daughter. I thought it was a cozy family moment. Apparently, that's when they started sneaking around. I never meant for it to go this far," she said, eyes rolling as if she were annoyed at herself for being too desirable. "But you caught us, so fine. Now it's all in the open. Let's talk like adults." "Adults?" I laughed, short and bitter. "You're not an adult. You're a manipulative, lying piece of work. You planned this. Don't act like you're caught off guard." She walked past me, brushing my arm like we were just having a small argument. "I'm gonna take a shower. When I'm done, we'll talk about custody. And the house." That did it. "Don't bother," I said. "Your boss already has the emails. And the photos." She froze in place. "Yeah." I saw the flicker of fear then. Real fear. Her face finally cracked, the smug mask slipping just enough. "You're bluffing," she said, voice lower now. Shaken. "Nope. Remember that work trip last month when you said you were too tired to FaceTime? I had someone follow you. And your boss's wife? She's a friend of mine now. You piece of—" "Watch your mouth," I cut in. "You already burned the world around you. I'm just lighting the match on what's left." I walked out before she could respond. Kyle was sitting in his truck outside, hands in his hair, looking like his whole universe had been carpet-bombed. Good. Let him sit in that wreckage. Let him soak in what betrayal really feels like when the roles are flipped. He looked up as I passed. Tried to open his door, say something, maybe even apologize. I didn't stop. I didn't care. I drove to Jenna's house. She was standing at the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, mascara down her cheeks. She didn't say a word. Just opened the door. We sat in silence for a long time. 2 broken people staring at the same explosion from different angles. "I knew something was wrong," she finally whispered. "He's been distant. Weird. But your wife? I never imagined she was capable of something like this." "She's worse than you think," I said. "And he's no victim either." She nodded, then laughed through her tears. "You know what the worst part is?" I looked at her. "I think they'll just move on. Like nothing happened. Like we were the problem. They'll eat each other alive," I said. "That's what snakes do when there's no one left to betray." She smiled faintly, wiped her face. "So, what now?" I didn't have an answer. But I knew one thing, I wasn't letting them win. Not like this. Not without a fight. I stayed at Jenna's that night. Not because I wanted to, but because I couldn't bear to step foot into that house again. The walls felt diseased with betrayal. I kept picturing Samantha's legs tangled with my brother's, their whispers, that smug smirk on his face. Over and over. Like a loop I couldn't break. Jenna offered me the guest room. She made tea, even though her hands were trembling. I noticed how she clutched the cup like it was the only thing holding her together. We didn't talk much, just exchanged glances full of disbelief and exhaustion. 2 people who thought they knew their partners. 2 people who had no idea what monsters they were living with. Around midnight, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Samantha. "You're being cruel now. I didn't deserve this." I stared at the screen. Laughed. "Cruel? Cruel is cheating on your husband with his brother. In his own house. In his own bed. While his kids' crayon drawings hang on the fridge 5 feet away. Cruel is not even bothering to pretend you're sorry." Then came another message. "We need to talk. About Emma. Emma. My daughter. The only person in this entire mess who didn't ask for any of it. The only reason I didn't completely lose my mind and burn everything down. I wanted to tell her she'd never see Emma again. That she lost her rights the moment she threw away her soul for a cheap thrill. But I couldn't. Because no matter how much I hated Samantha, Emma still needed her mom. And I wasn't about to punish my daughter for the sins of that heartless woman. The next morning, I went back to the house. I needed clothes, papers, sanity. The silence was still there, but now it felt even heavier. Samantha wasn't there. Probably hiding out with some friend, playing the victim, crying crocodile tears. Kyle had blocked me. Coward. I went into the bedroom, our bedroom, and everything looked exactly the same. The sheets were still twisted. Her perfume still clung to the air. I stripped the bed, ripped the sheets off like they were infected, bagged them, tossed the pillows, the robe she left behind. I wanted nothing of her left here. As I walked down the hallway, I noticed Emma's door was cracked open. I stepped in. Her tiny pink socks were on the floor. Her favorite bear was tucked into her pillow. That's when the tears hit. Not loud. Just silent. Hot ones that I didn't even try to stop. This was the real casualty. Not the marriage. Not my pride. But this room. This little girl's world, about to be cracked in half because her mother couldn't keep her damn legs closed. I pulled myself together. Packed a suitcase. Grabbed the folder with all the proof I'd gathered, screenshots of texts between Samantha and Kyle, hotel bookings, emails. It wasn't just the one time. It wasn't even just for a few weeks. This had been going on for months. They had inside jokes, nicknames, even plans. They were waiting for the right time to tell me. Turns out, the right time was never. They just didn't think I'd ever find out. As I zipped the bag, a knock came at the door. I opened it. Jenna. She looked even worse than yesterday. Pale. Shaky. Her eyes were bloodshot. She held up her phone. I just got this from Kyle. She handed it to me. It was a video. Of him. Crying. I didn't mean to hurt you, he said on the screen. I didn't plan this. It just happened. I love you. I don't know what to do. I handed it back. You gonna respond? She shook her head. I blocked him right after. Good, I said. We sat on the porch for a while. Just sat. She lit a cigarette with trembling fingers. I didn't know she smoked. Maybe she didn't before. Maybe today she needed to. I don't want him back, she said. Me neither. You think they'll stay together? I hope they do, I said. So they can destroy each other. She smiled. A real smile, the first since all of this started. Then she exhaled smoke and said, You know what's funny? What? I knew Samantha was selfish. I just never thought she was this low. She's AF ****ing sewer rat in stilettos. That made her laugh. The sound of her laughing made me feel something I hadn't felt in 48 hours, alive. But I wasn't done yet. Not by a long shot. Samantha had no idea what I had planned. She thought the video was the end. It was only the beginning. I called my lawyer that same afternoon. I didn't wait, didn't think twice. Told him everything. The affair. The video. The betrayal. He didn't even sound surprised. People are garbage, Ryan, he said, typing loud enough for me to hear through the speaker. But lucky for you, we deal with garbage for a living. I wanted full custody of Emma. No shared weekends. No pretending Samantha was a fit mother. Not after what I saw. Not after how easy it was for her to throw it all away. My lawyer told me we'd need proof of instability. I told him I had a drive full of it. Text messages where she joked about how easy it was to lie to me. Screenshots of her and Kyle planning overnight meetups when Emma was at school. The kicker? One message that read, He's too busy playing daddy. He doesn't notice anything. I noticed. Too late, maybe, but I noticed. Samantha texted me again that night. No apology. Just, when can I see Emma? I stared at it for a full minute, then turned the phone off. She didn't get to act like a mother on her own terms. The next day, Jenna and I took Emma to the zoo. Just the three of us. Emma didn't ask where her mom was. That almost hurt more than if she had. She just held Jenna's hand like it was normal. Jenna brought snacks. Laughed at the monkeys. Let Emma ride on her shoulders even though she was still wearing heels. It was surreal. Like we were borrowing someone else's life for the day. A better life. A peaceful one. Then Samantha showed up. Right at the exit. Waiting like a damn ambush. She walked straight past the crowd, ignoring everyone, and said in her fake sweet mom voice, Hi, baby. Mommy missed you. Emma hesitated. Looked at me. Then stepped behind Jenna. Samantha's face twitched. Just for a second. Like her pride had been scratched. She bent down, arms out. Emma, come on. It's mommy. Emma didn't move. Jenna stood still. Like a wall between them. I stepped forward. What the hell are you doing here? I asked. I have a right to see my daughter, Samantha snapped. You can't just take her and run off with the woman you stabbed in the back? I cut in. Yeah, I can. We need to talk, she said, her tone turning sharp. Privately, I told Jenna to take Emma to the car. Samantha waited until they were out of earshot before her real face came out. That ice-cold expression I knew too well. You're making a spectacle, she hissed. Everyone thinks I'm the monster now. Because you are, I said. She stepped closer, voice low and venomous. You think people won't start asking questions about you? About how boring you've become? How you buried yourself in work and forgot what it meant to be a man? That why you ******ed my brother? Because you wanted excitement. Her eyes narrowed. Don't talk to me like you're perfect. You're not. You're just better at hiding your mess. No, Samantha, I said. I'm just not the kind of mess that spreads her legs for her brother-in-law. That got her. She slapped me. Hard. Across the face. Right there in front of God and strangers. I didn't flinch. Instead, I smiled. Slowly. Assault. In public. Good move for a custody battle. She realized her mistake. Took a step back. You think you'll win? Judges don't take kids away from their mothers. They do, I said, pulling out my phone, when the mother's got a video history of banging her brother-in-law with her own kid's backpack on the couch downstairs. Her jaw tightened. You're disgusting. No, I said, you are. And then I left her there. Standing in the middle of the zoo parking lot, alone, furious, and for the first time powerless. That night, Kyle showed up at my house. Drunk. He banged on the door for 10 minutes before I opened it. His eyes were bloodshot, and he smelled like cheap whiskey and desperation. You ruined my *****ing life, man, he slurred. No, Kyle. You did that. He tried to shove me. I pushed back harder. He stumbled, fell into the rose bushes. Pathetic. You sent that video to Jenna, he growled, pulling thorns out of his arm. She kicked me out. She told my parents. I've got nothing. You had a brother once, I said. And you set him on fire. He looked up at me, tears in his eyes. You don't know what it's like, man. She made me feel like I mattered. Like I was better than you. I laughed. Not a bitter one this time. A real, honest laugh. You're not better. You're just louder. Dumber. And now? You're alone. Welcome to it. I shut the door in his face. And this time, it felt like closure. A week passed. No more texts from Samantha. No visits. No apologies. Just silence. The kind of silence that isn't peaceful, more like the eerie calm after a bomb's gone off, when all the noise has already done its damage and everything left is just ash and fallout. Emma asked once where her mom was. I told her, as gently as I could, that Mommy was taking some time to think about things. She nodded. Didn't press. But that nod carried something heavy, like she understood more than I wanted her to. Jenna stayed around. At first, it was just to help with Emma. But the more time she spent at the house, the more it felt like a strange sort of healing. We were two people with fresh wounds, trying to figure out how to stitch each other up without reopening the scars. She cooked. I cleaned. We made a good team, quiet, calm, without the explosion Samantha brought into every room like a storm in heels. Then Samantha broke the silence. She showed up unannounced again. Not screaming. Not crying. This time she was dressed like she was going to church, makeup perfect, smile rehearsed. The sociopath mask back in place. I've been thinking, she said, stepping inside like she still lived there. I stood in front of her, arms crossed. I didn't invite you in. She looked around the house like it was a crime scene she wanted to sanitize. This is Emma's home. I have a right. You lost that right, I said. But go on. Let's hear it. She took a breath, eyes fluttering like she was on stage. We both made mistakes. Stop. She blinked. You made mistakes, I said, slow and clear. I got betrayed. Fine. She shifted tone. I want shared custody. I'm not walking away from my daughter just because you're bitter. I stepped closer. You don't get to gaslight me into pretending this is some messy misunderstanding. You brought my brother into our bed. You lied to my face. You destroyed this family. I still love her, she said. And you can't keep her from me. I pulled a folder from the counter and tossed it on the table. That's for the custody hearing. Your lawyer will get a copy. So will the judge. Includes everything. The video. The texts. Your emails. Enjoy. She didn't touch it. She just stared at me. This isn't over. You're right, I said. It's just getting started. She left. And for the first time, I didn't feel like I was the one being left behind. Later that night, I found Jenna in the kitchen, scrolling through her phone. She had this weird look on her face, like she'd just seen something that didn't sit right. "Everything okay?" I asked. She hesitated, then showed me the screen. It was a new post on Samantha's Instagram. A photo of her and Kyle, smiling, happy. The caption said, "Sometimes life gives you second chances where you least expect them. Red heart # fresh start." I stared at it. My mouth went dry. Second chances? I muttered. She posted that while fighting me for custody? While trying to convince a judge that she was a loving, committed mother? Jenna scrolled to the comments. Most were people saying how brave she was, how love wins, how judgment is ugly. I nearly threw the phone across the room. "Let them have each other," Jenna said. "Their AF ****ing match made in hell." I didn't sleep that night. I spent it in my office, going over the legal paperwork again, refining every detail, prepping every piece of evidence. I wasn't just fighting to win. I was fighting to make sure Samantha never had the power to wreck anyone else's life again. Not mine, not Emma's, and definitely not Jenna's. 2 days later, Samantha called me. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Her voice was trembling. "Ryan, Cole got arrested. There was a bar fight. Someone ended up in the hospital. I need help. I can't do this alone. Please." I replayed the message 3 times. Not because I was worried, but because I wanted to savor it. She'd traded a husband and a daughter for a disaster in a leather jacket. And now? She was drowning in her own choices. I didn't call back. Instead, I took Emma to the park. She laughed as she ran through the sprinklers. Jenna brought ice cream. The sun was out. Life was normal. And I realized, maybe the best revenge wasn't destroying Samantha. Maybe it was just finally living without her dot. A week later, the court date came. I sat in that sterile, beige courtroom with my lawyer on one side, Samantha on the other. She looked like she was auditioning for sympathy, a hair pinned, no makeup, plain navy dress. A halo of fake innocence. Her lawyer whispered in her ear like she was some poor wounded mother trying to save her family. She glanced at me once. Just once. I met her eyes without blinking. We both knew what this was. I wasn't here to negotiate. The judge asked the usual questions. We gave our statements. Samantha tried to paint herself as the victim of emotional neglect, as someone who just wanted her daughter back. She even cried at one point, fake, tight sobs with no tears. Her voice shook in all the right places. Then my lawyer handed over the file. The video, the screenshots, the timelines. Her statements about wanting to start over with Kyle, proof that she left Emma with babysitters just to sneak around. And the cherry on top, her Instagram post. The judge didn't say much, but I saw his jaw tighten when he read the captions. I saw him pause longer than necessary on the video transcript. We left with temporary full custody granted to me and visitation supervised only until a final decision could be made. Samantha stormed out without a word. I didn't feel victorious. I felt drained, like I just walked out of a war zone, not a courtroom. Outside, Jenna was waiting in the car with Emma. When Emma saw me, she smiled, ran into my arms like she hadn't seen me in years. That moment was the first time I realized I hadn't lost everything. I just lost her. And that wasn't a loss at all. That night, I sat on the porch with a glass of whiskey. Jenna joined me, wrapped in a blanket. The air was cold but clean, like something had finally cleared. "You good?" she asked softly. I thought for a moment. "Not yet, but I'm getting there." She nodded. "Kyle's still in jail, by the way." I raised an eyebrow. She shrugged. "Got denied bail. Something about prior fights. He's been more of a mess than I thought." I leaned back and laughed. "So she chose that over this?" Jenna gave me a look. That's the thing with people like her. They don't choose what's good. They choose what feeds their ego. She was right. Samantha never wanted peace. She wanted control. And when she couldn't control me anymore, when I stopped bending, stopped apologizing for existing, she latched on to the next weak thing in reach. Kyle. Poor, stupid Kyle. He hadn't texted since the arrest. I didn't care if he ever did. Later that week, I dropped Emma off at her school. She kissed me on the cheek and ran to the playground. One of the teachers pulled me aside. "She's doing well," she said kindly. "She seems happier lately." That hit me hard. For so long I'd been drowning in my own pain that I hadn't even realized I was pulling her out of the storm too. That evening, Samantha showed up again. She looked tired. Makeup smudged. Hair undone. Not the polished mask I was used to. She stood at the doorway like someone about to beg. "I lost my job," she said. "Not my problem. I thought maybe you could help me. With rent." I stared at her. long and hard. You humiliated me, lied to me, used me. And now that your fantasy crashed, you're here asking for help. She looked down. I stepped outside, closing the door behind me so Emma wouldn't hear. You want help? Start by apologizing to your daughter. You haven't even tried. You've been too busy playing house with a criminal. Her lip trembled. I didn't think it would end like this. No one ever does. She didn't say anything for a while. Then she whispered, "Do you hate me?" I thought about that. Thought about everything. No, I said finally. I pity you. She left. No screaming. No insults. No threats. Just silence. And it was the most honest sound she'd ever made. The days started blending together. Not in a foggy, numb kind of way, but in the peaceful rhythm of a life no longer ruled by chaos. I'd wake up, make Emma breakfast, pack her lunch, drop her off at school. After work, I'd pick her up, and sometimes Jenna would come over for dinner. Sometimes she wouldn't. We didn't force it. No pressure. Just people with bruised hearts sharing a little bit of calm. Samantha stopped reaching out. No more texts. No more surprise appearances. Either she finally understood that I wasn't going to save her, or she found someone else to latch on to. Honestly, I didn't care which. The less I knew about her spiral, the better. One night, after I tucked Emma into bed, Jenna and I sat on the back porch again, just like we used to in those first quiet nights. The air was crisp, the stars out, and for once, there was nothing to say. She turned to me. Do you ever think about forgiving them? I didn't answer right away. Then I said, I think forgiveness is a myth. At least the kind people talk about. I don't need to forgive them. I just need to forget they exist. Jenna nodded slowly. That's fair. She didn't push me. That's what I liked about her. She never did. We sat there for a long time. At one point, she leaned her head on my shoulder. I didn't move. Didn't question it. Just let it be. A week later, I got a message from Kyle's wife, Jenna's cousin. She wanted to talk. We met at a cafe. I didn't expect to like her, but she surprised me. Do you know how long they were doing it? She asked, no small talk. At least 7 months, I said. Maybe longer. She closed her eyes. Figures. I was pregnant when it started. The words hit me like a knife. I hadn't known that. I'm sorry. She opened her eyes again, and there was something sharp in them. I'm not. I miscarried. Found out he'd given me chlamydia 2 weeks later. I sat in silence, unsure what to say. Then she leaned back. They don't last, you know? People who build their fantasy lives on top of wreckage, they always collapse. Eventually. I nodded. Yeah. Before she left, she paused. Jenna's good for you. Don't let your past ruin that. I thought about that the whole drive home. That night, Jenna didn't come over. I sat on the floor of the living room with Emma, helping her glue pieces of colored paper onto a cardboard castle she was making for school. She giggled every time I messed something up. I didn't mind. I wanted that sound to fill every crack inside me. And when she finally went to bed, I sat alone for a while. Just thinking about who I was before all this. About the man I thought I'd be by now. The family I thought I'd have. The loyalty I gave so easily. And then, I thought about the moment I walked in on Samantha and Kyle. That single, brutal moment that had torn it all down. And for the first time, I was grateful. Because that moment exposed everything that needed to die. The fake marriage. The blind trust. The illusions. Without it, I'd still be sleeping beside a liar. Still calling a snake my brother. Now, I had Emma. I had peace. And maybe, someday, something more. I got up, poured myself a glass of water, and opened the window. The night was still. Quiet. I finally was 2. A few months passed. Court finalized everything. Full custody awarded to me. Samantha was granted supervised visits once a month, but she didn't show up for the first 2. By the 3rd, she texted to say she was not in the right emotional space. I didn't reply. I just forwarded the message to my lawyer and went on with my day. Emma stopped asking about her. Kids are smarter than we give them credit for. She felt the shift, the absence. But instead of breaking her, it grounded her. She laughed more, slept better, drew pictures of our home that didn't have her mother in them anymore. That part made me ache a little, but not for Samantha. For what Emma lost. For what she deserved better than. Jenna was still here. Not as a replacement. Not as a rebound. She was just here, showing up when I needed someone. Stepping back when I didn't. Loving Emma in a quiet, steady way that didn't ask for anything in return. We hadn't labeled anything between us. But it didn't feel like it needed a label. It just felt real. One night, after dinner, Emma was brushing her teeth, and Jenna and I were in the kitchen cleaning up. I turned to her, towel in my hand, and said, "You know, I thought I'd never trust anyone again." She looked at me, serious, patient. "Do you?" I nodded. "You? Yeah. Somehow." She smiled. "Good. Because I trust you too." We stood there for a second, in that quiet space between broken and healed. And for the first time in forever, I didn't feel like a man who had something stolen from him. I felt like a man who got something back. Something better. Something real. Later that night, I tucked Emma in. She reached up, hugged me around the neck, and whispered, "I like her life." I kissed her forehead. "Me too, baby. Me too." As I walked out of her room, I realized this was it. The end of the nightmare. The start of something honest. Not perfect, but ours. And if someone out there is reading this, sitting in the middle of their own storm, let me tell you this. Betrayal feels like death. Like your lungs don't work and your skin doesn't fit. But it's not the end. It's a doorway. Walk through it. Don't look back. Because on the other side, there's peace. There's healing. And maybe, if you're lucky, there's someone waiting who knows how to hold your broken pieces without cutting themselves. That's not just survival. That's victory. Her smirk still haunts me. It wasn't the words she said that broke me. It was the way she said them. Like a dagger wrapped in silk. "Tonight," she began, pausing as she slipped on her red heels like it was a ritual, "I'm going to a party at my ex-husband's place." Then she smirked. Not the kind that hides something. The kind that flaunts it. "My name's Nathan. I'm 38, been married for 6 years, and up until that night, I believed in loyalty, in promises, in shared Netflix passwords, and whispered goodnights. I believed in her. Madison, or as I now call her, the queen of betrayal in red stilettos. She didn't even try to lie this time. No fake girls' night out. No cousin's birthday party. She wanted me to know. She wanted it to sting. I stood there, towel around my waist, fresh out the shower, watching her apply lipstick like she was preparing for war. "Are you serious right now?" I asked, my voice a mix of disbelief and rage. She glanced over her shoulder, mascara wand in hand. "It's just a party, Nate. Don't be so dramatic." But here's the thing. That night wasn't the beginning. It was the crack that let the flood in. Because something in her tone, in that smirk, screamed there's more. And I knew. Instinct isn't just a myth men use to justify gut feelings. It's real. And mine was screaming like a siren. Let me rewind a bit. 2 weeks prior, Madison started coming home late. Said her new job had her on campaign events and networking mixers. She smelled like hotel shampoo and someone else's cologne. When I asked, she said, "Oh, please. It's probably from the Uber driver. Stop being paranoid." She stopped wearing her ring. Her phone never left her hand. And when she laughed at her messages, it wasn't the laugh I knew. It was flirty, sinister, the kind that echoes down a dark hallway and makes your stomach drop. I caught her once, texting someone named Danny. "Who's Danny?" I asked. "Just a guy from work." Chill. Chill. That's what she said as she erased their messages right in front of me. So when she said she was going to a party at her ex-husband's place, it wasn't just disrespect. It was a declaration, a slap, a challenge. And I accepted it. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I didn't ask her to stay. I simply said, "Cool. Have fun." And while she left in a black dress that should have been illegal, I sat down at my laptop and logged into the backup ID system I once installed on her phone. Back when we were building trust, not breaking it. I had forgotten it existed until that moment. The truth, they say, sets you free. But in my case, it nearly killed me. Photos, videos, messages that made my blood turn to concrete. Her ex? He wasn't the only one. There was a Tyler from the gym, a Chris from her book club, even a Zach, our goddamn neighbor. The same Zach who always offered to mow our lawn when I was traveling for work. The worst part? She wasn't ashamed. In those videos, she laughed. She whispered things in their ears that she never said to me, even on our wedding night. They touched her in ways I didn't recognize. She was alive with them, unfiltered, wild. And here I was, the husband, left with scraps. I sat in the dark, watching frame after frame, message after message, a whole alternate life she lived outside our walls. The betrayal wasn't physical. It was spiritual. She gave them a version of herself I never got. I heard the garage open. Her car pulled in. I didn't speak. She walked in humming, heels in her hand, lipstick smeared, a glow on her face that no amount of yoga could explain. She saw me on the couch. Oh, you're still up? She tossed her purse like she owned the place. I told you it was just a party. I smiled, because I had already set the trap. And tomorrow, she'd find out just how much I knew. She walked past me like I was furniture. No kiss, no glance, not even a "how was your night?" Just that same smug aura she wore lately, like she'd won something I didn't know we were competing for. I didn't respond, didn't stand up, just sat there with my hands folded, watching her pour herself a glass of wine like nothing happened. She leaned against the counter, took a sip, and finally looked at me. "What?" she said, voice bored. I tilted my head slightly. "You look satisfied." She smiled lazily. "Why wouldn't I be? I had a good time. Caught up with some old friends." My eyes didn't leave hers. I didn't blink. "You mean your ex-husband's lips?" She didn't flinch. That was the part that hit hardest. Instead, she rolled her eyes and walked toward the hallway. "You're being dramatic again, Nate. This is why I can't talk to you anymore." I stood up then. Slow. Calm. "You think I'm stupid?" That stopped her. Barely. She turned slightly, just enough to throw her voice back. "No. I think you're insecure." I chuckled. "A real one. The kind that's sharp on the edges." I saw everything. She paused. I could see her spine stiffen, like a switch flicked in her brain. Still, she played dumb. Always had a backup lie ready. "What do you mean, everything?" "Videos. Messages. Zach. Tyler. Chris. Your ex-husband." Now she turned fully. Her face dropped just enough to show a flicker of panic, then reset. "You had no right." There it was. The default move. Ignore the cheating, attack the method. No right. I took a step closer. "I gave you 6 years of loyalty. I turned down job offers to stay near you. I buried my instincts every time you smiled at your phone like it whispered sweeter things than I ever could. And you tell me I had no right." She crossed her arms, jaw tight. "You don't own me." "No," I said, voice lowering. "I never did. And clearly, I never even rented your respect." For a moment, silence. Just the sound of the fridge humming and her breath coming out a little too quick. Then she laughed. Softly. A bitter, mean little thing. "You know what your problem is, Nate? You're boring. Predictable. You thought putting a ring on me meant you'd keep me. Newsflash, you never had me." I could feel it. The anger, the ache, the betrayal boiling behind my ribs. But I didn't explode. I didn't scream. I just stared at her. At this stranger I once promised forever to. "Is that what you tell yourself? That it's my fault you spread your legs for half the zip code?" She flinched then. Not from the words, but from the venom in them. She stepped closer, eyes blazing. "You want to know the truth? You couldn't keep me satisfied. Emotionally, physically, mentally, none of it. You were a pit stop. A placeholder." I nodded slowly. "And you? You were the lesson." I walked past her, straight to the drawer in the hallway, pulled out the envelope I'd prepared hours earlier. Photos. Printouts. A full dossier of betrayal. I tossed it on the counter. "Here's what's going to happen," I said, turning to her. "I'm done. You can have your parties, your exes, your neighbor with the lawnmower fetish. I'm out. The house. Selling it. My lawyer will call yours tomorrow. I've already moved half my stuff to a rental." Her mouth opened, but nothing came out. She didn't expect this. She thought I'd scream, cry, maybe beg. But silence. Steady rage? That rattled her. "You don't mean this," she said finally. I looked at her. Really looked. At the woman I once called home. And I said, "I never meant anything more in my life." Then I walked out. But the story doesn't end there. Not yet. Because bitches like Madison? They don't go down without dragging someone with them. And I wasn't done bleeding. Not yet. The next morning, I expected silence. Instead, I woke up to 37 missed calls. 17 from Madison. 12 from her sister. And the rest? Unknown numbers. I knew the storm had hit. When I finally picked up, it wasn't Madison. It was Zach. Yeah, that's Zach. The lawnmower Casanova himself. "Nate," he said, voice low like he was calling from a confessional booth. "Bro, I didn't know she was still with you." I didn't say a word. "I thought you guys were split up, man. She said you were staying with a cousin or some." I hung up. I wasn't interested in apologies from a man who plowed my wife while trimming hedges and borrowing my goddamn drill. I grabbed my keys, slid on my hoodie, and headed out. I needed air. Noise. Something to drown out the images in my head. Her smirk, her words, her voice when she laughed at their messages like I was the joke. Because that's what this was. A long-running sitcom with me as the clueless idiot. Halfway to the coffee shop, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from a number I didn't recognize. You don't know everything. Ask her about Danny. Ask her about the lake house. I stopped walking. Danny, the name from her phone, the one she brushed off like lint. And the lake house? We didn't have a lake house. But her ex did. I turned around, went back to the rental, pulled out my laptop, and started digging. Emails, bank statements, GPS history. You don't spend 6 years with someone without leaving breadcrumbs. She wasn't just careless, she was arrogant. There were receipts for Airbnb stays, Uber drop-offs miles from where she said she'd be, and one gem of a confirmation email from 3 months ago. Thanks for booking Lakeview Retreat for 2. I couldn't breathe. That weekend, she told me she went to a branding workshop with her company. She even brought back a notepad with fake scribbles and a branded water bottle. She planned the lie down to the detail. I stared at the screen, the edges of my vision going blurry, and for a second, I wanted to smash the laptop into the wall. But I didn't. Instead, I drove 3 hours to that lake house. I didn't even call. I didn't care if she was there or not. I needed to see it. And sure enough, her car was parked out front. The same red coupe I bought her last anniversary. I pulled up slowly, stepped out, walked across the gravel like I belonged there. Inside, I could hear voices. Muffled, low, and then laughter. I didn't knock. I pushed the door open and stepped into a slice of hell. There she was, Madison, wearing the same damn robe I'd bought her on our honeymoon. And next to her, shirtless, smug, was Danny, some muscle-bound moron with tribal tattoos and the IQ of a grapefruit. They froze. She jumped up, face pale, mouth slightly open like she forgot how to breathe. Nate, what the hell are you doing here? I looked around. At the wine glasses, the still steaming mugs of coffee, the open suitcase on the couch. I should ask you that, I said dead calm. Danny stood up, puffing his chest like a dog in a cage. Man, you need to bounce. I didn't look at him. My eyes never left her. You lied to me, I said. Again, and again, and again. Madison tried to put on her mask, the manipulator's face. The tears came fast, forced, fake, pathetic. It's not what you think. That made me laugh. I stepped back toward the door. No, it's exactly what I think. She reached out, grabbing my wrist. Nate, wait. Don't leave like this. We need to talk. I shook her off. You had a dozen chances to talk. You used every one of them to lie. She followed me out, yelling now, voice cracking, trying every trick in the book. Guilt, charm, panic. I didn't turn around, because in that moment, something inside me snapped for good. The part of me that loved her? Dead. The part that trusted her? Ashes. And the part that ever wanted to fix this? Buried 6 feet under. I got in the car and drove. And for the first time in months, maybe years, I felt free. But Madison? She wasn't done. She never is. 2 days later, I was back in the city, sorting through the wreckage of my life like a man sifting through a burned-down house, looking for anything that hadn't turned to ash. I moved into a small apartment. Nothing fancy, just walls and silence. Silence, I thought, was better than fake moans and whispered lies in the dark. I didn't tell anyone what happened. Not yet. My brother Jake kept calling, asking why I missed his kid's birthday. I told him I was sick. He didn't press, but I knew I couldn't hold it in forever. People would find out, and I didn't care anymore. Let them. What I didn't expect was Madison showing up at my office. She walked in like she still had a place in my life, in a tight black dress, hair done like she was going on a date, not showing up to beg for mercy. Or maybe not beg. Knowing her, probably manipulate. I was in the middle of a meeting with my assistant when the receptionist buzzed me. Your wife is here. Ex-wife. I corrected her silently. I stepped into the hallway, saw Madison standing there like a movie villain, calm, collected, holding a folder in her hand like it contained terms of surrender. I need to talk to you, she said, eyes wide with artificial sadness. You're not supposed to be here, I replied. I told you I'd contact my lawyer. I know, but this is important. She followed me outside to the parking lot. I didn't want to cause a scene inside, and something in her voice told me she came loaded with drama. She always did. When we were alone, she opened the folder and handed me a stack of papers. You're not going to believe me, she started, but everything, it wasn't just what you think. I looked down at the documents. Financial statements. Withdrawals. A wire transfer to a name I didn't recognize. What is this? It's why I needed Danny. He helped me fix something I couldn't tell you about. Something from before you and I even got married. I laughed. A dry, humorless sound. You want me to believe the man you've been sneaking off to see helped you for my benefit? She stepped closer. Nate, I owed someone money. Bad people. Danny, he's connected. He helped me. I couldn't tell you because they threatened to go after you. The gall of this woman. UF *** him to protect me? Is that the story now? Her face twitched. Not in shame, in frustration. Like she was mad the lie wasn't working. I didn't plan for it to happen, okay? It just did. I was scared. You looked terrified when you were moaning into his mouth on that couch. She bit her lip, realizing the trap she'd walked into. You watched. I watched everything. You don't get to play the victim here, Madison. The truth was, it didn't even matter anymore. The lies, the half-truths, the fantasy world she built, it was all rotten to the core. There was nothing left to salvage. I'm not trying to get you back, she said softly. Good. She paused. I'm trying to warn you. That caught me off guard. Warn me. There's more, she whispered. Zach, he's not who you think. He knew about the cameras. What cameras? The ones I told him to install around the house. For security, remember? Except he added his own. Inside, my pulse kicked up. You're telling me Zach was spying on us? She nodded. And not just us. He recorded things. Sold them. That's how this all started. I owed him money. I paid him to erase it. I took a step back, staring at her like I'd never seen her before. You let our private life become content? I didn't mean to. I didn't know at first. I found out too late. And by then, I was already in too deep. I wanted to scream. Break something. Shake her until the truth fell out in broken pieces. But I didn't. I turned around, walked to my car, and said without looking back, tell your lawyer everything. I'm done speaking to you directly. She reached for my arm, but I was faster. You're poison, Madison. I loved you, she said, almost shouting. At least I did at the start. I slammed the door and drove off. I didn't even see her in the mirror. I didn't want to. 3 nights later, I was woken up by someone banging on my door like it was on fire. I rolled out of bed, heart pounding, half thinking it was her again. Another performance, another twist in her theater of manipulation. But when I opened the door, it wasn't Madison. It was Jake, my brother, and he looked like he'd seen a ghost. You need to come with me, he said, no greeting, no explanation. I pulled on a hoodie and followed him down to his truck. It wasn't until we were halfway across town that he spoke again. It's about Zach. I didn't say a word. I just stared ahead, jaw locked. He was found outside his house. Beaten. Bad. He's in the ICU. I blinked. What the hell happened? Jake glanced at me. Police think it was a robbery, but I don't buy it. We pulled into the hospital parking lot, and my stomach turned. Not from sympathy, from the chaos that kept following me like a shadow. This wasn't over. Not even close. Inside, the nurse wouldn't let us into the room, but she gave us the rundown. Head trauma, broken ribs, possible internal bleeding, and worst of all, no wallet, no phone. The cops thought it was a mugging gone wrong, but Jake wasn't buying it. And honestly, neither was I, because Zach wasn't the type to walk into danger unarmed. He had connections, friends, cameras, backup plans, and yet, there he was, barely breathing. You think Madison had something to do with this? Jake asked me outside by the vending machines. I think Madison starts problems, I said. But I think someone else just finished one. We didn't say anything for a while. Then Jake handed me something he'd pulled from Zach's mailbox earlier, an envelope addressed to me. No return name, just my name written in all caps. I opened it. Inside, a USB drive and a single photograph. Madison, sitting on a hotel bed, robe half open, holding a glass of wine and smiling at the camera. Not looking seductive. Looking satisfied. I didn't even want to plug in the drive, but I knew I would. Back at my apartment, I poured a drink, straight whiskey, no ice, and stared at the flash drive like it was a time bomb. Then I plugged it in. Folders, labeled by dates. Some going back over a year. I opened the first one. Clips. Footage. Inside my house. The living room. The hallway. Our bedroom. He'd been watching us. Every kiss. Every argument. Every silent dinner. And worse, he watched her with them. She brought them there. Into my home. Into our bed. Danny. Chris. A couple of faces I didn't even recognize. Zach had been her voyeur. Her blackmailer. Her insurance. And he was going to expose her. Or me. Or both. I leaned back, heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. And that's when I realized the drive wasn't for me to watch. It was a warning. Whoever beat Zach half to death wanted me to see this. Wanted me to know what was on the line. Maybe Madison sent it. Maybe someone else. But one thing was clear. This wasn't just about betrayal anymore. This was about leverage. About danger. About cleaning up loose ends. I stared at the paused video of Madison laughing on our couch with some tattooed idiot's hand up her shirt and whispered to myself, what the hell did I get dragged into? That night, I didn't sleep. I changed all my passwords, ordered cameras for the apartment, texted my lawyer, and told him we needed to meet first thing in the morning. And for the first time since this nightmare started, I was scared. Not for my heart. Not for my pride. For my life. Because Madison didn't just lie. She built a trap. And I was standing right in the middle of it. The next morning, I met with my lawyer, Tom, a no-bullshit, divorce-hardened guy who'd seen more dirty tricks than a Vegas card table. When I handed him the USB drive, he didn't even flinch. Where did you get this? He asked, sliding it into his laptop without hesitation. It was in Zach's mailbox, I said, with my name on it. He nodded, opened the files, and watched for exactly 45 seconds before slamming the lid shut. Jesus, he muttered. She's toast. You're walking away with everything. House, car, alimony's off the table. Judges hate this kind of circus, especially when it's documented like a Netflix docuseries. I didn't react. The win felt empty. This doesn't stay in court, does it? I asked. Tom looked at me. You mean the fallout? No. Something like this, it leaks. It always leaks. These guys she was with, they're not ghosts. They've got jobs, wives, reputations. Somebody will find this footage. Somebody will talk. And the guy who filmed it. I said, Zach's in a hospital bed with his skull cracked. Tom paused. You think she had it done? I think she made enemies, I replied. And I think they're cleaning up. Tom leaned back, eyes narrowing. You need to disappear for a bit. Disappear? Take time off. Go somewhere. Lay low. The last thing you need is to be part of a scandal that involves blackmail, assault, and hidden cameras. I exhaled. She hasn't stopped calling. Block her. I did. She used burner numbers. Sent emails. Voice notes. One of them said, please pick up. I think someone's following me. Tom raised an eyebrow. You believe her? I shrugged. I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. But fear? That's hard to fake. He looked me dead in the eyes. Don't save her. Not this time. She burned the bridge. Let it stay ashes. That night, I sat in the dark again. My apartment was small, safe, and smelled like paint and silence. I kept checking the hallway through the peephole, half expecting to see Madison or someone worse. At 2:14 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Then a text popped up. You really think this ends with a divorce? That was it. No name. No threats. Just that. I stared at it for a long time. Then another one followed. You took something from me. I'm taking something from you. I forwarded the messages to Tom and the police contact he gave me. Then I locked the front door, shoved a chair under the knob, and sat by the window with my old baseball bat. Paranoia isn't just for the guilty. It's for the betrayed, for the blindsided, for the fools who gave everything to someone who saw them as disposable. At 3:37 a.m., I got another message. A photo. It was my brother's car, parked outside his house, taken from a low angle like someone was crouched behind a bush. No words. No explanation. My chest tightened. They weren't after me anymore. They were after my family. I jumped up, grabbed my keys, and called Jake on the way to his place. He didn't pick up. I called again. Still nothing. I floored it, heart hammering like a drum solo. When I got there, the street was quiet. Too quiet. His lights were off. No movement. No dog barking. No flicker of the TV. Just darkness. I banged on the door. Nothing. Then I saw it, taped to the window. A piece of paper. One line. Should have picked up. I kicked the door in. Rushed through every room, yelling Jake's name. He wasn't there. Neither was his wife. Neither were their kids. The house was empty, but not untouched. In the living room, a laptop sat open, playing one of the videos from the USB. My house. My wife. Her fake moans echoing through my brother's home. And written on the screen in red text was a message. This is only the beginning. I dropped to my knees. Because now, it wasn't just my marriage that was destroyed. It was my whole life unraveling. Thread by bloody thread. I called the police. Tried to stay calm, give them the facts, not sound like a lunatic unraveling. But every second my brother wasn't picking up, every ring that went to voicemail, I felt like my skin was peeling off from the inside. The operator asked if there were signs of forced entry. There weren't. That's what made it worse. Whoever had come, they had a key, or they were invited. The cops showed up 20 minutes later, lights flashing, voices professional, hands hovering over holsters. I walked them through the house. The empty bedrooms. The untouched kitchen. The laptop. The note. I could see the shift in their posture when they read the red text on the screen. This some kind of domestic threat, one of them asked. Something like that, I said. I think it started with my wife. Or ex-wife. He raised an eyebrow. You think she's involved? I didn't know how to answer that. Was she still involved? Or had she just built a world that finally turned on her? While the officers checked the property, I called Tom again. He answered immediately. Where are you? He said, no greeting. Jake's house. He's gone. So is his whole family. There was a note, and someone left one of the USB videos playing on his laptop, like they wanted me to see it. Tom was quiet for a beat. You're going to a hotel tonight. Not home. Don't tell anyone where. I'll arrange private security. This has gone past divorce. You're into something else now. I think it's Madison, I said. I think she's scared because she knows who's doing this. Then she's next, Tom replied. And if she goes down, she might take you with her, just to pull someone else into the fire. An hour later, I checked into a hotel under a fake name Tom gave me. 2 guards stationed near the elevators. One by the lobby. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally allowed myself to feel what I'd been stuffing down for weeks. Grief, rage, humiliation. I married a woman who could wear betrayal like silk, who let other men desecrate our life while I picked up groceries and made dinner. And now, somehow, I was the one paying for her choices. At 1:11 a.m., my phone lit up again. Blocked number. I stared at it for a long time, then answered. It was her. Her voice was shaking. Real panic this time. Nate, they're following me. I didn't say anything. I didn't know it would go this far. I thought Zach was just bluffing. I thought if I gave him what he wanted, he'd delete the footage. What did he want? I asked, voice flat. Control, she said, almost a whisper. Not money. Not even just blackmail. He liked owning things. People. Me. You let him film us. I didn't know at first. Then I found out. And he said if I told you, he'd release everything. My job, my reputation, it would all go up. It did go up, I snapped. Silence. Then, softer. They're coming for you now, Nate. Because you have the originals. The drive. The videos. You think I care anymore? You should. Because they don't want money either. They want silence. The line clicked. Disconnected. I stared at the phone like it might explode in my hand. The last trace of her voice hung in the air like a stain. I didn't sleep that night. Just waited, staring at the door, the windows, every shadow that twitched. Because this wasn't just a scandal. It wasn't just cheating. It was war. And I didn't know the rules anymore. Or who was still playing. By the end of that week, I was running on black coffee, paranoia, and whatever adrenaline comes from knowing someone might be watching you every time you blink. Tom had pulled strings, lawyers, favors, a contact in cybercrime. And they traced some of the USB footage back to an encrypted drive that wasn't just sitting in Zach's possession. There were backups. Distributed. Sold. Maybe even live-streamed. And if that was true, this wasn't just personal anymore. This was criminal. International, maybe. Exploitation, extortion, deep web level S***T. And at the center of it? Madison. Not because she masterminded it, but because she was the willing face of it. A woman so obsessed with attention, validation, and power, she never noticed the hands tightening around her throat until it was too late. 3 days later, Madison was found. Not dead. That would have been simple. That would have tied the bow on this nightmare and let me breathe again. No. Madison was found hiding in a roadside motel outside Tucson. Hair chopped, ID fake, and a phone filled with voice memos she never sent. Like she'd been documenting her own descent for someone. Maybe for me. The feds picked her up after she flagged down a highway patrol claiming someone was trying to kill her. They questioned her for 12 hours. I got a call the next day. You're clear, Tom said. They've got enough to move forward without dragging you through this circus any more than you've already been. I didn't answer. Not right away. Because I didn't feel clear. I didn't feel anything. It was like walking out of a burning house, covered in soot and blood, only to realize you never saved anything that mattered. You just survived. Jake and his family were okay. They'd gone off-grid for safety after seeing strangers watching their house. He finally called me from a blocked number, told me to stay out of it, and said he'd call when it was safe. I didn't blame him. I wouldn't want me around either. And Madison? She took a plea deal. 6 years. Maybe less with good behavior. She cried in court, claimed she was manipulated, said the men used her, blackmailed her, turned her into something she wasn't. But I knew better. Madison was always exactly who she showed herself to be. The robe, the smirk, the lies. The way she said, "Tonight I'm going to a party at my ex-husband's place," like it was a punchline, not a warning. I never visited her in prison, never responded to her letters. I heard she got beat up once. Some other woman didn't like the way she looked at her. Poetic. And me? I moved to a different city. New job. New apartment. Still couldn't look at red stilettos without flinching, but I was breathing again. Sleeping more than 3 hours a night. Sometimes, I even smiled at strangers. Not because I was happy, but because I wasn't broken anymore. You don't come out of something like that whole. You come out sharp, dangerous, smarter. And if there's one thing I learned from Madison, it's this. Some people don't just lie with words. They lie with their whole being. Their smile, their silence, their love. So if you're reading this, and you've got that gut feeling, that ache behind your ribs, that whisper in your head telling you something's wrong, believe it, before it turns into fire, before your whole life becomes footage on someone else's screen.